Philadelphia Bulldogs. Got it.
There you go.
Coaches. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, they can't hold a flame against you, ay. Blow the whistle, blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, got the game, it ain't no issue, yeah. Blowing the whistle, I had enough with you, the championship, it is gone. Ain't listen to you, I can't give it to you, cause you don't know what I've been on. This is the Coaches Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I'm your host today, Coach Jibbs. Today we have Coach Steve, we have Coach John, and we're coming to you live on a Sunday, which is strange. I know we usually record on Mondays and Thursdays, so nice little Sunday preview for the NFL draft. And I'm just gonna let my co-hosts speak of how their weekend was. Coach Steve.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously a great weekend, great draft. A lot of cool things happened. A lot of disappointment too, because I think a lot of people thought people were going in certain places or at least in favorable situations for fantasy, but that's not always how the NFL draft works. We've learned that year after year that it just doesn't work that way. But overall, a good weekend. Miami had a good draft, so I'm thrilled.
John,
it was
punters and
fun.
kickers.
Yeah, it was fun. I got to watch the Patriots trade back in the first, as always. I got to watch them draft a kicker. So it was a typical fun draft for me as well. Shout out to the good old boys. I was on their show. I think I just missed Steve. I was on there for most of the first round and had a good time. And yeah, it was great. It was a good weekend. I'm excited. We get to this is where I tell people the pre-draft rankings are fun and dandy and the scouting process is great. But this is where you need to really pay attention is where they get drafted. What does the depth chart look like? You know, what is their all this advantage? So now we know way more of the puzzle than we ever did, 2 weeks ago.
Oh, for sure. I could see your guys' rankings going up and down via the destinations and whatnot. But yeah, it was an interesting draft. I love what the Eagles have done, and we're actually going to get into a nice little draft tidbit in our news segment. And Coach Steve, do we have the news slide, or we're just going to?
No, I didn't. It's just one
Okay.
thing.
Well,
I'll let you announce it. Come on.
During day 3, the Philadelphia Eagles acquired DeAndre Swift, Detroit Lions former running back, for I believe a future 4th-round pick, and then I think was a 7th-round swaps or something.
Yeah,
something
like that.
But it was cheap, guys. I definitely like the move. I hope it comes with bubble wrap because now we have Penny and Swift together. So like maybe one of them could do the first half of the season, the other one could do the second half of the season. But regardless of his new situation, like I think he could be a viable piece for the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, like I think he could be in more use because like the way we rotate our running backs a lot. So I think he probably could have a more sustainable season without injury, and he should do pretty well running behind and catching behind that Eagles offensive line. So I'm okay with the move, and you have now 2 running backs on the roster making not that much money. I know DeAndre Swift's on his last year of his deal, but you guys could be here for 1 year and they're gone. So there's no baggage with them whatsoever. So I like the move.
Yeah, I mean, it's a super smart trade if you're the Eagles. I was texting my buddy the other day. I said the Eagles should win some form of Nobel Peace Prize for the way they drafted the past like 2-3 years because it's crazy. It is crazy how they just acquire talent and trade picks and move around. And the fact that they were able to get Swift for so minimal of an investment, if he stays healthy, I know, again, it's a big if, but behind that offensive line, that should certainly help. That offense again should be top 3 in the league. So it's crazy. It makes the Gibbs pick, Jahmyr Gibbs pick, a little bit make more sense. But still, it was smart for the Eagles jump on a situation and add some talent to a backfield. I think it's great.
Yeah, it was definitely a great low risk move. Obviously, they weren't giving up a top 3-round pick for him. I mean, the man, yeah, he has his injury concerns over his career, but when he's healthy on the field, I mean, that's just a dynamic runner, very good for us in fantasy. Definitely kind of kept his value somewhat alive with going to Philly because obviously we were really concerned about DeAndre Swift for a minute there, but obviously he is good and ready, hopefully, for the Eagles. And obviously for redrafts this year, you're expecting a guy who's probably a top 5-4 round pick and redrafts this year. Probably a high-end RB2 with some upside. We'll see, depending on how like they use him in this offense. There's a lot of very fast running backs that can hit home run threats with Penny and Swift, so it'll be interesting to see how they use them. But I thought it was a smart move for the Eagles to make right now instead of having to get up and draft a running back. So good move.
Ready made. Okay. And today, folks, we're going to give you our NFL draft recap. We're going to do the wide receivers and tight ends on a future episode. But for today, we have the meat and potatoes, the quarterbacks and the running back position. So I believe first we're going to get into the early round quarterbacks. Somebody pulled up the slide. And as you guys could see, and as you guys probably know, Panthers selected Bryce Young with the first pick. The Texans got CJ Stroud with the second pick. The Colts, surprisingly, for me, like they selected Anthony Richardson number 3, and we're just gonna get to these first 3 players because they're basically the first 3 picks. And I'll let Coach John go first. We could discuss Bryce Young and what the Panthers selected.
Yeah, so I think we talked about this when we talked about our quarterbacks and fantasy rankings and all that is, for fantasy, I had CJ Stroud ahead of Bryce Young, but obviously from a running an offense and operating an offense standpoint, you got to take Bryce Young 101. He is such a plug and play pro. Now the question with Carolina is, can we figure out everything else? Because I think we have a competent quarterback that can move pieces around, and you saw them address wide receiver a little bit later. They hope Terrence Marshall takes a step forward. So, you hope Miles Sanders does some damage. They have a good offensive line. Their run game was solid last year. You just hope Bryce Young accelerates that passing game. So I love the pick, and I think he's going to be a great star. The Texans taking CJ Stroud, to me, I like the pick. A lot of people were shocked by it, but I love it. I think he is another one. He's basically an accurate, big, bodied quarterback that can move outside the pocket, showed it at rare occasions. And so I think that's to take him at the 102 means that the Texans are invested. They're really invested in this player. They're going to see what they got. I think they have some work to do on their line, but they have some competent pieces in Nico Collins, and they added Devin Singletary, who can catch passes out of the backfield. And Dameon Pierce, who looked to be a solid runner when, everything was going his way. So I think both players, the 101, 102, fall into interesting situations. If I'm in a single quarterback format, I'm probably not taking them till like the back of the first, middle of the first, but super flex format, I'm okay taking either one of these guys 101 based on preference. And then Anthony Richardson to the Colts is crazy because we always considered this to be the Colts were almost like a win now situation where I would have thought if CJ Stroud fell to the Colts, that would have made more sense because he is a out of the box accurate pro. Anthony Richardson needs a little bit more work. And so how does he develop with the Colts? That'll be very interesting to me. I think he is certainly we talked about it, a swing for the fence, freak athlete kind of guy. And if he can figure out some of these accuracy issues, he could be crazy dynamic in that offense with him and Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman. And, if all things start to fall into place, could be really fun. But it's much more of to me, a wild card. But in Superflex rookie drafts in that format, I would, obviously you got your Bijan and then, probably Bryce Young 102. You could make a case for Anthony Richardson because there is a lot of talent in that kid if he does hit. So I think all 3 land in good situations. It was just interesting to see the Colts make that pick because he does seem like more of a developmental guy. And I feel like the Colts could have taken someone who could just operate an offense and probably sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was basically close to what we were going to expect. Obviously, the Panthers taking Bryce Young, we knew that for the last few weeks now. He should be a really good fantasy quarterback eventually. I don't know if it's going to be coming right away. He obviously doesn't have the weapons at the moment to really help him succeed. But Frank Reich knows how to keep quarterbacks good, not great. And if they can just get some talent around him, he's already an accurate quarterback. He just needs to be protected. And if he does, he'll be great for this franchise. It just depends how much they're willing to protect him and how they're going to develop this offense to fit his skill sets to the best of his abilities. CJ Stroud, definitely everyone thought the Texans were off quarterback, and clearly they were not. Stroud goes to Houston here, a very strong passing kind of quarterback here. He's not a mobile guy. He's not a big runner, but he's a very accurate downfield thrower kind of quarterback. Probably one of the best quarterback throwers in this class here in terms of accuracy and power strength combined. I mean, the weapons will come as the time comes on. They got a couple guys in this draft I really did like that we'll talk about at some point. So, I mean, I like this pick as well. And, of course, Anthony Richardson, I think John kind of said it best. I mean, they could have went a different direction with Will Levis or something like that and maybe went for more of a this year thing. But it really does seem like the Colts are really trying to hit that restart button, develop Anthony Richardson, kind of what Shane Steichen helped do with Jalen Hurts the last few seasons here now, and get him to up to speed where he can be a true dual threat kind of player because he has the tools. And I think I mentioned this early on, I think on a podcast, it was that he has all the shiny things that you would want in a car, like the Ferrari doors, the lights and everything, but the engine just needs to be worked on a little bit there. And if they can get the engine running smoothly, he's going to be elite for the Colts there. And they continue to add weapons around there. And they have a lot of weapons for him too as well. Stroud is probably the fourth option for me. It's either between Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson in terms of the 1 or 2, because BJ Robinson is definitely the 101 still, and we'll talk about him soon. I've seen so far in drafts that Richardson's gone 102. I've seen Bryce Young's gone 102. It consistently for me, it's probably depends on what I need at quarterback, either stability or upside, how I do my picks there, but probably Richardson, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud are probably in somewhat of that order for me.
Oh, very interesting. And I also like to mention that Shane Steichen did work with Justin Herbert too, so like, he has a little long list going for him with quarterbacks that he kind of made flourish in the NFL. So I'm definitely intrigued by Anthony Richardson. And then we're gonna go into the latter half of these quarterbacks that are picked in rounds 2 and 3. We have the phenomenal Will Levis and Hendon Hooker. Levis was the second pick of round 2. And the Detroit Lions picked Hendon Hooker in round 3 during the midway portion of it. So, John, we'll let you talk about Will Levis. I'm sure you're not as mad as he is that he didn't get picked in day 1.
No, I understand. I just kind of the way the board was falling, it just made sense that someone would probably wait at that point till early day 2 to take him. So it makes sense that he was the second pick in the second round, which is like shows that we didn't want to let him fall any further. So, and I like the landing spot, I really do. I think that the Titans do need to sort of reset their offense. They need to figure things out. They have a massive piece in Derrick Henry that I think can either A, help Will Levis develop, or B, be used as an asset to get more pieces for Will Levis to work with. So either way, the Titans want to move this direction. I think they have a chance to surround Will Levis with some talent. It's fun. It's interesting spot. You need someone who can step in. We don't know how long Tannehill, is going to, run this offense, operate things. Again, if the Titans want to start this reset button, Will Levis looks like someone who is going to have, not a ton of pressure on him, because if they have to ride Tannehill for the first 6 games, they will. So the situation's good. I like it. And then Hendon Hooker, I think, landed in an awesome spot in probably the appropriate first round talk to me was a little crazy. I like this. Now he doesn't need to start right away. He can sit back. He can get healthy. He can develop all aspects of his game. He can make sure that his knee is 100%, and then fight with Jared Goff, who he absolutely can beat out at some point towards the end of next season or early, 2024. So I think both players in the long term landed in good spots.
Go on, Steve.
Yeah, obviously, I was a big Will Levis guy coming up into the draft, so seeing him fall in round 2 definitely sucks. I mean, he did land in a pretty solid situation, I think, with the Tennessee Titans that I think can help build around him. I think he's definitely definitely an upgraded version of what Ryan Tannehill can do. They both kind of have some mobility to them. They both can throw. I think Will Levis has the stronger arm. There are definitely certain accuracy issues with both of those guys, kind of. So, I mean, I think in the long run, they're going to find themselves a nice franchise quarterback. Definitely a big upgrade over what they did last year with Malik Willis, and they drafted him. And I think Will Levis will probably start at some point this season here, especially if the Titans kind of fall behind at some point in this division here, which I believe they should. And again, Titans need to build some weapons around him, get him some more weapons. They didn't really do that too much in this draft here. I'm hoping that's a 2024 thing for them, and to kind of build around him, make sure that offensive line is protected around him. They got a good running back we'll talk about soon. He probably fell from like the 106 to 107 range to probably the 110 to 111 range for me. I definitely have gotten him at the 110 in rookie draft superflex leagues at this point, but he's definitely not a sure thing as much just because of the second round capital to him. But he should still probably be a first round pick in most superflex leagues. Just assume that he's probably not going to start right away. Hendon Hooker, John said it best. Great landing spot for him. He's going to be able to sit behind Jared Goff for the year. He probably won't even have to consider starting until 2024, maybe even 2025 if Jared Goff ends up doing really well this year. Again, to be determined on that. But again, the kid has the weapons around him. He's probably a really strong second round quarterback that I kind of want to take a shot on. Again, his risk, he's older. He's already 25 years old. By the time he might start, it might be 27. But he's going to have a lot of experienced weapons around him that makes it very interesting to kind of go and make sure you grab him in round 2 in superflex leagues if you need him. But definitely both these guys landed in good spots. And again, these are the top 5 quarterbacks in the draft that I'll take in the first probably 2.5, 3 rounds at least.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't. The only one is Hendon Hooker, and I probably wouldn't let him slide past me at like the 206. I'm probably taking him in that range. So, but Will Levis, if you're in the back of the first, early second, that's where I would take him, and then Hendon Hooker, same, middle of the second. These are those 5 are the quarterbacks that I think are relevant in rookie drafts going forward. There's a few that you can maybe make a case for if you do like a 4 or 5 round rookie draft, like I do because I'm a sicko. But most rookie drafts are like 3 or 4 rounds. You probably don't have to worry about some of those other guys. They'll be there. They'll be on your waiver wires and stuff.
For sure. I also like Hendon Hooker's situation. Like I know as we went on with these draft the quarterback prospects reviews, and a lot of the guys or the guests kept kind of saying like the Tennessee offense was gimmicky, but like I know being the short lines or NFL team, I just like some of the pieces they have. They had homie, I forget the guy's name. Jameson Williams suspended for 8 games or so, or 6 games or so, but they have Amon-Ra. But I just like those 2 pieces outside. They're obviously working with the running backs they have were phenomenal, and the tight end. So I think he's going to a good situation. I don't know if it could be as gimmicky as he was in Tennessee, but I'm sure Dan Campbell and the Detroit staff could get him as polished as he needs to be as soon as possible. So I do like Hendon Hooker. It intrigues me. And some of the forgotten guys, quarterbacks around 4 and 5. These guys are probably going to be backups, but there are some intriguing names. Jake Haener was selected by the Saints. Oh my God, I was like, what the hell? The pick 127. The Rams picked Stetson Bennett with the next pick at 128 in the 4th round. The Raiders selected Aiden O'Connell with the 135th pick. And then in round 5, Cardinals select Clayton Tune with the 139th pick. The Browns, Dorian Thomas-Robinson with the 140th pick. Packers got Sean Clifford and gave him Aaron Rodgers' number at the 149th pick. And we have the Vikings with Jared Hall with the 164th pick of the draft. Coach John, I know some of these quarterbacks aren't glamorous, but are there any guys that you like or any guys that you love in their respective positions on their new NFL teams?
Sure. So like I was saying, if you're doing like deeper rookie drafts, like I do a few deep leagues that we do 6 rounds of a rookie draft, you can start looking at some of these names. I think, Jake Haener is one for sure that is a competent backup walking into a good situation. Doesn't have to, but if Derek Carr gets banged up, he's got pieces around him. Michael Thomas, he's got Chris Olave, he's got Alvin Kamara. So he's got pieces to make an offense move. I think Stetson Bennett interests me. We talked about how long does Stafford have left, and Stetson Bennett could walk into a good situation. The thing that bothers me or I'm afraid of is I have a feeling once it starts to fall apart in LA, you'll see what's his name, Sean McVay leave. And once that happens, then who cares? Like, I don't care about the offense of the Rams once McVay's gone. But Stetson Bennett is interesting for sure. Aiden O'Connell, I wasn't huge on in the pre-draft process, but obviously it lands in a good situation. You have a feeling that head coach is going to stay there for a while. They're not committed to Jimmy G in any way, shape, or form. So I don't think Aiden O'Connell is going to beat him out, but there is a world where, he pulls out some late season heroics. And then the rest of the guys are all backups. Dorian Thompson-Robinson just is a perfect backup to what Watson is. We won't have to change the offense at all if he goes down. Clayton Tune was an interesting pick because if Kyler Murray does go down, you would have to completely change your offense with Clayton Tune. But and then Clifford and Jaron Hall are just safe whatever picks. I wouldn't even worry about them.
Hello, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, you're likely going to draft some of these in some 4-round drafts, especially if you're in a deeper league in terms of bench spots where you're obviously in Superflex. So these guys are probably all 4th-round picks, back half of the 4th round selections here. The ones I probably like the most are Aiden O'Connell. Again, I was kind of high on him in the draft process. Really smart quarterback. He doesn't have all the physical tools to be a fantastic quarterback, but a very smart quarterback that I think has opportunity to potentially start this year. We know how Jimmy G's injury history is, where he could get the start at some point during the season. Another guy like Clayton Tune, John kind of mentioned, Kyle Murray is likely to miss half the year. They have Colt McCoy. I'm trying to think who else they have there.
They don't have Colt McCoy anymore.
They don't have Colt McCoy anymore?
I don't think so. I think the Patriots signed Colt McCoy for some crazy reason, maybe. I'll look that up.
They don't have a quarterback that I can obviously name right now. So obviously
it's not pretty after Kyler Murray. I'll tell you that
exactly. He has an opportunity to start this year. So the contending teams, Aiden O'Connell and Clayton Tune, make a lot of sense. Again, in terms of maybe some rebuild teams, Stanton Bennett, Jared Hall. Those guys have potential maybe to start in 2024. It's probably not that likely, but they do have the potential. But like I said, Aiden O'Connell and Clayton Tune were the only ones I really did like here. Again, these are all kind of 4th round picks you make if you're looking for depth at your quarterback position to see maybe if one of them clicks.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And the last but forgotten guys who were picked in round 6 or undrafted free agent. So the Eagles got Tanner McKee at the 188th pick. The Chargers picked TCU's Max Duggan with the 239th pick. The Bears got Tyson Bagent as a undrafted free agent. I'm sorry. And the Patriots got Malik Cunningham as an undrafted free agent as well. So are any of these guys worth taking in a rookie draft?
No. But surprisingly, the only one that I wouldn't be shocked if his name became relevant would be Malik Cunningham with the Patriots. Like, it would just feel like such a Patriots thing to get some guy out of the rough who no one talks about, and all of a sudden he turns out great. And it's like, all right, So, but no, I don't believe in any of these players. I don't think any of them will last long on a roster. No.
Yeah, they're all practice squad, last men on a NFL roster bench at this point. Again, it's just worth mentioning to know where these guys might have gone, just to keep your eyes on them, obviously, for the training camp if they do happen to stick to a team, but it's less likely that these guys end up being fantasy relevant at this point. So
see you in the XFL. All right, and for the second position that we're going over today, we're doing the running backs. Only 2 running backs were taken in the first round. You had Bijan Robinson getting taken by the Falcons, and the Lions getting Jahmyr Gibbs at the pick 12, which was quite shocking at the time of the draft on Thursday night. So obviously both of these guys are worth taking in rookie drafts, but you guys could discuss each one and obviously let me know where you're comfortable taking them in the rookie draft.
All right. Well, I mean, Bijan Robinson is the clear 101 in every format, in my opinion. Super flex, whatever. I don't care. You could start one running back, and it's still worth taking him 101. So, there's nothing else to say. I mean, Bijan Robinson he's going to see. He's going to see 300 plus touches, no problem. The only question is, are the Falcons going to be in a lot of scoring opportunity? So does he have top 5 upside? Probably not, but he is the safest bet to finish running back 6 to running back 15. There's no chance he's going to fall outside of that range next year. And then after next year, hopefully, you hope their offense figures it out. Pitts takes a step forward. London takes a step forward. And then they are in scoring opportunities. And then Bijan Robinson's, top 3 running back for the next 3-4 years. And so it's such a difference maker. And the fact that he went top 10 means you hope he slid to the Eagles just because of offensive reasons, but it's still, he's going to see as much opportunity as he can handle. It's just crazy. And then Jahmyr Gibbs at 112, like you said, is a crazy high pick at the time. But then now with Swift being gone, when you reshuffle that running back room, you look at it and you can say, okay, this makes total sense. He's a perfect complement to David Montgomery. I think they're going to work really well in tandem together. This idea that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get this lion's share, no pun intended, workload and be a 300-plus touch guy like Bijan Robinson, I don't think that is in the realm of possibility. I think Jahmyr Gibbs still is who he is. It's just the Lions really valued that. So that's why they took him at 12. But they're not, that doesn't mean like, oh, they took him at 12 so he becomes this, workhorse 350 touch running back. No, he's still probably 150 carries and 100 targets. That's probably just who he is, which is fine. That works great with David Montgomery, who's probably 200 carries and 50 targets. So they complement each other perfectly, and they're going to work out and be, again, Lions, I think, are going to be a sneaky good offense this year.
Okay. Where would you take Gibbs in a rookie draft?
That's a great question.
After 5.
This is all. So 101 is clearly Bijan, and then situationally, I'm assuming let's talk one quarterback, because when you get into Superflex, then it's totally different. It's crazy. So one quarterback, you're assuming then, do you need running back or wide receiver? Because it's either JSN or Jahmyr Gibbs, and I would still, based on positional value of running backs, I would still take Jahmyr Gibbs at 102. I think it's just because when running backs do hit, say he does become Alvin Kamara, I mean, that is such a difference maker and it helps. So whereas, JSN, JSN could become Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you're like, yeah, it's nice. It's a very good piece. It's helpful, but there's 20 wide receiver guys who could potentially be wide receiver ones year in, year out. So it's just, I think the running back is more, and has more trade value as well. So I would probably take Gibbs at 102. And then you start getting into the slew of wide receivers that you have to pick from.
Interesting. Coach Steve, what's your perspective?
Yeah, I think John said it best. There's not much to say about BJ Robinson. We wish he went to maybe a little bit of a more high-power offense situation, but obviously he went to a high run efficiency offense in the Atlanta Falcons that, a fifth-round pick in Tyler Algier ran for 1,000 yards. Imagine what a first-round pick with his talent can do this coming season here. So he's the confirmed 101, no matter what format you're in. He should be the first pick taken off any draft boards. Pretty easy. Again, wish he went to a different situation, but obviously the betting odds were that he was supposed to go to Atlanta, and he ended up going to Atlanta. So I hope you made that bet. On the other side, Jahmyr Gibbs, definitely a shocking pick here. Obviously, it's less shocking now, obviously, with DeAndre Swift out of town. But he should have somewhat of a similar role to what DeAndre Swift had in Detroit, with a little bit more of a running opportunity. Obviously, we know that Swift wasn't used as much due to his injury history. I think Gibbs will be used a little bit more and more of a 50-50 split with Dave Montgomery early on. Again, I didn't care for the pick at the time, but it's still a good pick now, obviously. He's probably the 105, 106 in Superflex leagues, depending on what you want, either him or Jackson Smith and Jigba. At that time, that's how I feel about it. He's probably the 102, 103 in one QB leagues at this point. But I don't think he's someone you should expect to be a big touch guy where he's going to see just massive workloads week in and week out. I think he's going to end up having some boom weeks, some kind of lower weeks. It just depends on how frequently they want to use him in the passing offense. That's going to be his big ticket for us in fantasy. And again, take him 102, 103, but we've learned that even if you take a player at 102, he might not be safe the next season. So just be careful of that, obviously, nowadays. We'll talk about that in like 30 seconds here, but definitely 2 picks that are going to be worth taking.
So, here's a perfect example. DeAndre Swift in 2021, when he was healthy and playing well and everyone loved him, had 151 carries and 87 targets. So that is absolutely what Jahmyr Gibbs could do. No problem. He could walk into 160 carries and 80 targets tomorrow. Like, that's easy. So you're hoping that's what he gets plus upside. So I think I love him. I would take him if he's going to slide to
My
you.
only concern is that they didn't have the wide receiver core that they have now 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That's my only issue. So I don't know how frequently they're going to use him in that same capacity.
Yeah.
But no, I get it though.
Interesting.
That
Yeah,
nice.
no, that's fair. That's a fair point. And Jared Goff notoriously doesn't love to like really throw to his running backs. He throws it away more than anything. But I'm just saying there is a chance it could happen.
Oops, got ahead a little bit. Okay, now I can brush up. Running backs that were taken in rounds 2 through 4. You have Zach Charbonnet picking by the Seahawks at 52nd pick. You have Keandre Miller picking by the Saints at the 71st pick. Titans got Tajay Spears at the 81st pick. The Dolphins got Devon A-Chain, pick 84. Jaguars got Tank Bigsby at pick 88. And then the Bears took Roschon Johnson with the 115th pick in round 4. John, I'll let you discuss each one, and then you could just name off any running backs you feel comfortable taking at round 1 or the end of round 1.
So these landing spots killed me because all these landing spots on paper stink. Like, you don't want I love the talent of a lot of these players, but the landing spots were so tough. Roschon Johnson, to me, interesting, lands in probably the best situation where I think Roschon has a role where he really could. They like Khalil Herbert. They talk about Khalil Herbert, but there is no realm of ties to Khalil Herbert. They don't have to move forward with him, and they're not committed to him being a 300 touch guy either. So, Roschon could walk in and easily carve out a big role. So I'm interested in Roschon Johnson. Kendre Miller, again, I was high on the talent in the scouting process. He lands in a situation where if Alvin Kamara misses time, I know we were really high on Jonathan Williams Jamal Williams. Thank you. I get so confused. Jamal Williams. I know we're really high on him, and he's great touchdown machine. And it's interesting because Kendre Miller kind of falls in the same ilk and archetype as him, but could get into an interesting situation if things change. Tajay Spears, I like as well because of the fact that if Derrick Henry gets traded this season or gets moved in the offseason or anything like that, Tajay Spears could instantly vault into a RB1 type of role. A-Chain, I wasn't high on pre-draft, but landing spot I said was going to be big for him, where if he lands somewhere where he finds an offense that knows how to use him, he can be very useful. So A-Chain to me is not going to be a high touch, high volume guy, but when he touches the ball, it will be electric and it'll be big plays. So he would be a fun like flex player in your roster, like could hit every once in a while for a big 60-yard run, but he's only going to touch the ball maybe 8 to 10 times a game. So his floor is very low. And then Tank Bigsby and Zach Charbonnet, I think, fall in really tough situations. I don't know. I know that the Seahawks love the run and they're committed to the run and they'll run the ball until their heads fall off. So maybe him and, they both get 20 touches a game, but I don't see that. I see Charbonnet now as more of a really solid backup in the NFL for now, and maybe things change. And then Tank Bigsby, kind of the same situation. He's just going to be the thunder to ETN's lightning. It'd probably be, I don't know, not a lot, short yardage guy. I also think that they like ETN in the red zone, so I don't think he'll be a red zone guy. I just think he'll be kind of a thumper when they need like a yard or two, and they just kind of guarantee it. So that's just, it stinks because I like all these talents, and if the situations changed, it would be totally different. But I think none of them, where the wide receivers went and situational and even tight ends, to be honest with you, some of these guys maybe back of the first, maybe, but I'm not going crazy. I'm not taking some of these guys like 106, like we were doing for a while. If you're hurting at running back, you want to take a chance at someone at 110, 111. But in my opinion, Roschon Johnson's probably the best pick, and you can wait till 204 and get him. 205 and get him. You don't have to take him at 110. So, maybe trade back. Maybe if you have the 110 and you don't love it, trade back and pick up a second and a future first and see how that goes. But a lot of these guys are probably high second round picks for me in rookie drafts.
Go on, Steve. You're muted.
Mute it up.
Sorry about that. So I'll start at the top here. Zach Charbonnet going to Seattle was just a major, like, what the hell kind of situation here, because it obviously hurts his value as a potential 3-down back. He doesn't have that anymore. I don't know how they're going to use these two together. Again, I just talked about in an article that we've seen teams be able to use dual-headed monsters at the RB position. The Browns have done it. The Cowboys have done it. The Saints have done it. So, I mean, Seattle is a very run-heavy team. They like to run the ball. So potentially he has value, but I think him and obviously Kenneth Walker both have capped upsides now. They're no longer big shot players that we would want to have as RB1s or RB2s. And again, maybe someone ends up getting hurt. Hopefully not, though, obviously, or someone outdoes someone. One of them guys step up and ends up being the real guy, but definitely don't like this pick at all here for him. Kendre Miller. I probably wouldn't take him in the first 8 probably 10 or 11 picks in the draft. I just wouldn't touch him. I'd rather let someone else deal with that situation than having to go after Zach Charbonnet. For the Saints, Kendre Miller, again, I wasn't too high on him. He comes into a situation where he could end up splitting time with Jamal Williams, depending if Alvin Kamara is suspended and how long that is. But if not, he could be in a 3-way committee for at least a year, and we'll see how that works out. Again, he was kind of that bigger back, in my opinion, so he could end up having some role, but I definitely don't care for the landing spot. I would prefer them go for like a Tajay Spears. I wish they went that direction. That would make me feel so much better about that situation. But he kind of is similar to what Jamal Williams is to some extent. Mm-hmm. And again, second round pick probably, not a really late second round pick probably in my opinion. Tajay Spears, love the landing spot for him. He has potential to be the 2024 starter after Derrick Henry leaves. Again, I know there's some medical conditioning that just arose after they picked him. Something about that he's not fully healthy. So something you want to keep your eyes on. There's a news article on it out there on NFL.com. So check that out. Again, I still like him. I don't know. After I read that article, I don't know if I like him as much as the first round pick. Probably a high second round pick. I feel more comfortable going that direction with him. He definitely has an opportunity to be a day one starter in 2024, and obviously split time with Derrick Henry as a compliment, change of pace back. Devon Achane from Miami. I like the pick. I obviously like the pick here. He's kind of a younger Raheem Mostert. If he can stay healthy, we saw what Raheem Mostert could do on 190 touches. Decent work. He's probably, in my eyes, a late first round pick. I know I got him at the 110 or 111 in a recent draft here because I need running back, and that with the players on the board or the players we're talking about now, he has the best opportunity to probably get a big chunk of the work this year and then potentially be the 2024 starter, or at least the 1A or 1B of that offense there, who likes to run efficiently. The Jags, I like Tank Bigsby. I don't like him going to the Jags as much. It definitely shows something for the Jags and Travis Etienne's trust to go get a guy in the third round. To me, I think that it might be more of a 50-50 split than people might think it will be, obviously, early on, personal opinion. Because I think everyone liked what Travis Etienne did with a bigger workload, and I think bringing a guy in the third round that shows something that they might not want to overuse, Travis Etienne in that nature, and it may be more of a 60-40 split kind of. So Bigsby intrigues me in the second round, late second round. I haven't got that far in any of my rookie drafts yet, so I don't know exactly where they're going. Roschon Johnson, definitely hate this situation for him early on. I don't know if he has much of a role in 2023. 2024 is probably where he could shine. Obviously, Herbert's on the last year of his deal in 2024. Deontay Foreman won't be there in 2024. So he'll probably get some work here and there, but his real value probably will come in 2024. Probably a mid to late second round pick right now if you're looking for a running back. Again, a lot of these landing spots, like John mentioned early, don't like any of them. So,
all right, I'm sure you guys might like some of these. Hopefully, running backs for taking in rounds 5 through 6. You have Izzy, taken by the Jets at the 143rd pick. Yeah, the Bengals taking Chase Brown with the 163rd pick. The Giants taking Eric Gray with the 172nd pick. Colts taking Evan Hull with the 176th pick. Commanders got Chris Rodriguez Jr. with the 193rd pick in round 6. Cowboys Deuce Vaughn, the 213th pick in round 6. And lastly, Zach Evans taken by the Rams at the 215th pick. You guys could go give the listeners some tidbits of each running back and whether you like their landing spot or not. And then lastly, just give the listeners like a short list of players that you probably would draft in the later rounds of your rookie drafts.
Yeah, so it's funny. Start with Israel Apenakanda. I after we did the show with John from Gridiron Scholar, I went back and rewatched his film, and I started to fall in love with him. I'm like, oh yeah, he's super talented, love it, great. And then he lands with the Jets, and I'm like, well, this is a terrible spot. Again, terrible spot. You're behind Breece Hall, who clearly is a superstar in the making, and it stinks. So I think that it's a great pick for the Jets, great talent in the 5th round that you're getting, and very valuable to have, if you need to give Breece Hall a rest, you got someone as talented as Israel in there. So I don't think he has immediate value. Again, you draft him late in your rookie drafts based on talent alone. And, maybe Breece Hall isn't ready week 1, or maybe an injury flares up or something happens. It's a good situation, good offense. Rodgers is there now, so there'll be plenty of scoring. I just have a feeling a lot of that is just going to go to Breece Hall. So for fantasy, it's tough. Chase Brown, interesting spot. Bengals, great situation. Joe Mixon, we know there's a ton of legal trouble. There's been rumors that he could be cut. There's rumors that he's traded. So, again, good, decent talent, but he's in a great situation. If Mixon is gone, then he could fight his way into a great role. Eric Gray, backup, talented guy, but, backup to at least for the year, backup to Barkley. Probably get a little bit of a run, but they're going to use Barkley on the franchise tag until his legs fall off. Evan Hull, same thing. I mean, it's the Jonathan Taylor show. Commanders, interesting. Cowboys, interesting. Deuce Vaughn, with Zeke gone, can he find himself a little bit of role and a little bit of work with Tony Pollard? Should be a good offense. I don't know what the offense looks like without Kellen Moore. So, and then Zach Evans, again, super late, but good situation, interesting. The Rams in that whole running back situation last year, it was crazy that Cam Akers even came back and played another snap. So who knows what's going to happen there. But again, dynasty purposes, Zach Evans could win that role, but all of a sudden next year it's dismantled and Stafford's gone and Sean McVay's gone. And then who wants any of the Rams players? So I think it's just tough. Once you get past the 4th round for running backs, there's so little investment by a team that it's hard to invest for fantasy purposes. But I would, again, I think we got blessed with so many tight ends and wide receivers with good landing spots this year that I'm not taking a stab at any of these guys until, late 3rd, 4th round, if you just need depth.
Coach Steve, what do you got for us?
Yeah, it was really upsetting to see Cabana. I can't say his name. Cabana. I can't say his name. The guy from Pitt go to the New York Jets here in that 5th round. I mean, I thought he had 3 down potential to his game. So seeing him go to be a change of pace, backup type for Breece Hall definitely sucks. He definitely destroys what value I liked him in the 3rd round. I probably would take him if I was a contender late 3rd. Because of maybe his 2023 potential with Breece Hall coming back from his ACL injury. So that's interesting. I still would consider taking him. He's a talent. Sometimes talent does wear out. And again, he's only 21. So, I mean, in 3 years, he could be on a new team, and still have a chance to be a starter somewhere. Chase Brown going to the Bengals. I really am intrigued with this. I wasn't super high on Brown, but I did like his speed. And if the Bengals do release Joe Mixon, that could give Chase Brown an opportunity to see productive work in 2023. He's definitely for someone I'm probably looking at the mid 3rd round still, especially if I'm in need of running back, because I think there's potential there. Eric Gray, I love Eric Gray, and I thought this was a good spot for him to land because we don't know what's going on with Saquon. I said that Eric Gray would be someone who would need to probably have a quiet rookie year, and then have a real opportunity in 2024 for a starting roster spot. And again, we don't know what's going on with Saquon. He could end up signing long term, which would obviously kill Eric Gray's value, but I think Eric Gray could end up doing some solid work for the New York Jets. He's definitely someone I am still looking to target in that mid to third round there, because I think there's potential, even with Saquon Barkley there. Saquon is going to get older as we get closer. I think he's already 25, 26 at this point. So he's not like a young kid anymore, and he has a history of injuries. So that eventually will probably catch up to him at some point once again. And then I think Earl Gray will get his opportunity to go. The Colts, Evan Hall is a good running back. He's just a good kind of team running back, and I think he could fit in as a solid backup for Jonathan Taylor. He'll probably fight Zach Moss for the backup job for that role there. He's a good fourth-round pick, I think, to grab if you're looking for depth at running back. Chris Rodriguez, seen him go in the 6th round. Again, it's not out of the ordinary, but I thought he'd probably go undrafted. They already have a similar built running back like Brian Robinson on the roster, so seeing Chris Rodriguez goes there, he's basically just a 2-down back. So if you're getting him, he's basically there, I think, for depth backup. And I don't really see much value in him. I probably won't see him drafted in many leagues. Deuce Vaughn, he's probably going to get drafted because he's going to the Cowboys. Again, he's only 5'5". He's not very tall. He's a very short running back. So I don't really see him having too much fantasy value because he's not going to see massive workloads. He's going to probably be someone that uses in terms of a gadget, design plays for him to succeed. You could take a shot late 4th and see if maybe that value ends up going there, but I don't see it too much. Zach Evans, again, wasn't a major fan of Zach Evans a lot, but again, he ends up an opportunity like the Rams where Cam Akers on the last year of his deal, and Kerryon Williams didn't really overly impress as a rookie. So Zach Evans couldn't find himself in a situation where he is seeing work in this Rams offense here. So it could be interesting. Probably a late 3rd round pick right now, maybe 4th round pick. But again, a lot of these guys didn't go in spots I wish they would have went at least. So
boo-hoo. Okay, and lastly, we have the running back selected in round 7 or acquired after the draft. Vikings had Dwayne McBride selected with the 222nd pick of round 7. Packers got Lou Nichols, the 235th pick. Kenny McIntosh, 237th pick by Seattle. And the Texans picked up, Jesus, I need glasses. Zazavian Valladay. Lions got Mo Abraham. Ravens got Keaton Mitchell. Panthers got Cam Peoples. And the Bucks got Sean Tucker. I have one question for you guys. Is there a gem here? Anybody who could be a diamond and be uncovered in the future?
The only one that is remotely interesting is Dwayne McBride. That's the only one, and that's because there's been rumors that Cook could be on the move. And again, that's at this point you have to look for a situation to totally change for these guys to become relevant. And that's the only situation that I think could totally change where someone might slide way up a depth chart. Other than that, everything else is probably kind of locked up, or at least like semi locked up. I don't think a lot would have to change for the Packers. Tons would have to change for Seattle. You know what I'm saying? Like at least the Vikings, if they trade Cook, like then all he has to do is beat out, what's his name? Why can't I think of it? What's his?
From what team?
Vikings. Minnesota Vikings. Back Alexander Madison. Thank you. Yeah, he just has to beat out Madison to get significant playing time, which is possible. So, if a month from now or 2 months from now, Dalvin Cook is traded, Dwayne McBride would be interesting.
All right. Steve?
Yeah, Dwayne McBride is definitely an interesting candidate for sure, because he could end up competing for the job. Like John just said, if Dalvin Cook is released, I think throughout the draft you heard his name a lot, saying, "Wow, I'm surprised that Dwayne McBride is still sitting there. I'm surprised McBride is still sitting there." And obviously, you took him all the way to the 7th round to go off the board here. A couple others. Sean Tucker going undrafted was very interesting. I think part of that had to do with his recovery from his injuries and not really not posting great athletic numbers at his pro day. But he ends up with the Bucks, which could give him an opportunity to be successful. I mean, Rashad White is there, obviously still, but Sean Tucker is that bigger back. We talked about him being potentially a 3-down back in the NFL. So that's interesting for potentially late in your rookie drafts or priority right off rookie drafts to go get a guy like that. If you have extra bench spots on your roster, he's definitely an interesting guy to go and get. That's kind of really it. Keaton Mitchell, I did an in-depth article on him, so I kind of liked him a little bit, but again, they have a lot of running backs in that Ravens backfield, but he was interesting to go there. No one else really stood out overall to me, so that's about it.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. That's the quarterbacks and the running backs who were drafted in the NFL draft. We'll be back tomorrow to discuss wide receivers and tight ends. So our normal listeners will be here tomorrow. Don't you worry. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at Coaches Fantasy. You could watch this video since you're probably going to watch it tomorrow at the Fantasy Coaches on YouTube. So a lot of content there. What else? Coach John, you have anything else you want to say?
No, just subscribe to the YouTube. Shout out Coach Steve. He's really been chopping up the segments and videos into really like these 5 and 6 minute bite-sized segments. So it's been great. So if you want to just subscribe, get caught up on individual players and get our thoughts on a quick format, it's been great. So I love it, and I am part of the show, and I listen and love it. So subscribe and certainly take advantage. So shout out Coach Steve. You've been killing it in the production department.
Yes, sir. Coach Steve.
Yeah, I appreciate that, John. Thank you so much, guys. Obviously, continue to listen into us. We'll be back throughout the rest of this month talking rookie stuff, and then eventually we'll get into redraft season. That's around the corner now that the rookies have been selected. Yeah, it's heating up. But let us get through May. We're going to help you guys get through your rookie drafts. We'll be doing obviously some more tomorrow. We'll be doing rookie drafts next week. We'll be talking veterans impacted by the draft and fun things like that. So continue to listen in as always, whether it's on YouTube or on any podcast network you listen to, or, if you listen to us live, wherever we do. So, yeah.
All right, guys, we're the coaches and we're signing out.
Later.
Peace.